UFO-Pops is the oldest divergence pattern I ever built, so it's probably, I don't know, it's probably about 30 years old by now. It's a relatively simplistic pattern, and whilst it doesn't have quite the same power as time continuation, it still has its uses. Primarily, it's a warning sign, and if we're in a trend following trade and we get a UFO, which is a negative signal, then if there's an expansion of range, or if it's at a resistance point, if it's at a peak point, if it's at a range deviation 3 up or 3 down, then it would be enough to trigger a signal to exit that trend following trade. It can also be an aggressive entry point as well. What I've got here is a futures chart. This is for people who follow or subscribe to my trade of the day. The German or the bond markets have actually provided the two best signals of the year so far. I've put time continuation and UFO-Pops on there. The UFO-Pops are the diamonds, so there's 2 below and 1 above, and the time continuation is the squares, of which there's 2 below and 1 above as well. All of them have the filter that says you want the expansion of range switched on. I'm going to just explain the different dynamics of UFO and Pops. The first signal here, the diamond, highlights how within a sideways pattern there are times where the sophistication or the way that the code is built, it can actually give you a clue of which way the break should be. So here I got a pop signal within a sideways pattern. It told me that there is hidden divergence in this pattern and that it's bullish. Now you can wait for the breakout if you want to be more careful. What actually happened was a couple of days later there was a time continuation signal as well, which would have given added confirmation to say yes, we're actually going to continue the trend. So divergence as a continuation, not just against the trend. Then we get up to the all-time high. This was quite an unusual signal as well. It was a time continuation one, and there's not a great deal of range there, but it sort of shows that there has been a loss of momentum, and it was quite an unusual signal. It actually needed a little bit of clarification before you might have taken that short because of that, because it was such a narrow day. We then collapsed, and I'm going to show you in a moment where you could have traded the break, and then we come all the way down and we got a pop signal at the lows. I'm just going to switch on the range deviation pivots just to show you some of the extremes of range. Now what I've done here is I've manipulated the range deviation pivot slightly, so they're actually set to 5 deviations. So normally you have 1, 2 and 3. Just for ease of use I've put it on 5. Now once we had this sell signal, this is the breakdown bar here, so it didn't quite close below 5, but in terms of looking for a confirmation of a change in trend, we only actually have to close below 3. So that was your initial sell signal. Then we actually close, in this instance we actually close below 6 deviations down, so that's shows just the power of the move that's building. And then when we finally make a low, we hit 5 deviations down. I think it just went a couple of ticks below it. Now this is where profit taking comes in. We don't necessarily have to wait for a pattern on a daily to say we're going to take some profits. If a trend has already developed like this one obviously had, we'd fallen over 1,000 points in 6 or 7 trading sessions, then you can put orders in at certain deviation levels because they're limit orders. Those levels are fixed for the day. In truth, I would have actually been a buyer at 3 deviations down and 4 deviations down. I wouldn't have necessarily expected it to get all the way to 5. A few days later, we come back down and we get a time continuation buy signal. We come up, and then we've got the most recent signal, which was just last Monday. And this is what I would call divergence as a continuation. When we've had such a steep trend, we have a reactive phase back up, and then the UFO came in and said the trend is restarting. It's worth pointing out that just about every bond market, American markets, European markets, UK markets, they all gave a sell signal on the same day, so it wasn't just this market, and there was multiple divergences all on this day. So that was a very, very powerful signal. Can trade it with options. Just to give an example, I bought some options there for 20 ticks the following morning after the signal, and you could have been trading out of them at 250 ticks. So even if you didn't take it through payroll, which was on Friday. This chart is of Apple. It's on a daily basis. What we've got on here to connect a UFO signal is the range deviation pivots. What we have here is the monthly pivots, and it's set at the third deviation up or down. So if we're getting towards the limit of the monthly range that we can achieve, and you get a divergent signal, it could be a time continuation, in this case it was a UFO, then that can be used as a profit taking point. If you're highly aggressive, and there might be some other things that are giving you some clues, you can get short as well. Now I've moved on to a Tesla daily chart. Here I'm showing an example of divergence as a continuation after a sort of sideways. You can see a large expansion of range with the diamond, and we extend up over the next few weeks, and then the monthly third deviation is just a little bit of a step too far and can be a profit taking point. Pops and UFOs have applications in all markets and all time frames. I've just returned to that Bund chart. Remember, right at the beginning we said that actually price hit the 5th deviation down, which is extremely rare. And what we could also look for, if we're looking for places to get out intraday, is pops to appear on a lower time frame. So here what I've got is a 15-minute chart, and it's got the expansion filter. We've been collapsing for days, as it were. It's been down, 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 and then finally we get a pop signal, which would be enough to say, right, we're going to take some profit on this trade and walk away from it. If you're looking for an additional qualifier, it's to say that price has also closed beyond the third deviation up on the range deviation pivots. So each pivot will go on whatever time frame you look for. So we can drill down, we can go fishing for opportunities to take our profit before waiting for a daily reversal.